Welcome. This is Dr. Paul Dyer. Welcome to Bridges Live, and I'm talking to Mr. Billy Ware. We met in Vegas, didn't we, Billy?
Yes, we did. During the Action on Film and Hollywood Dreams Film Festival.
Yep, you were there when I was giving one of my seminars about the action on film and the movement and stuff like that. So, but I want to get into, I love talking to people on Bridges Live about getting people from here to there, and that's what Bridges Live is all about. And most of you people who's been following me on Bridges Live, thank you for all the support. And it comes out every Monday at on a podcast, and you can catch the podcast later. You can always hit me up for Dr. Paul W Dyer at holisticscience.com. So, but Billy, tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's get into the film, because Billy it's about film, it's about directing, it's about cinematography, it's about writing. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Billy.
First of all, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I've been involved in mass communications and film since the early 70s. After returning from Vietnam, I started my education as a motion picture technician. And once getting the degree from there, I continued with mass communications. I worked in radio and television. My writing experience started with doing commercials, which, as you know, is a kind of a small story, 30 and 60-second commercials. From there, it developed into writing and doing plays for theater locally here in Milwaukee, and then into the screenwriting. We won the Best Dramatic Feature at the Hollywood Dreams Film Festival that was held in Las Vegas, Nevada, the first of through July.
And then congratulations for that, and cinematography also, correct?
Yes, for the documentary, we have a 27-minute documentary that deals with the use of acupuncture for the treatment of opiate drug addiction. And we won in 2 festivals there in Las Vegas, Nevada, for the cinematography for that documentary.
Now, being a naturopathic doctor, and I do acupuncture, tell us about what you found out about opiates and acupuncture.
Well, we started doing research here with a local group, the International Holistic Medicine here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we were asked to kind of look into the possibility of doing a documentary. We found a lot of evidence about the positive use of acupuncture to treat drug addiction. There are special techniques that are being used by acupuncturists to deal with the drug addiction, to ease the cravings, and to fight the pain that's associated with the use of the opiates. After taking the opiates for a period of time, instead of easing pain, they can increase the pain, cause pain.
Yes.
And we found that through the acupuncture, they were able to kind of deal with these symptoms and to alleviate these pains.
So let me touch people on the science of what acupuncture does. So what Billy's talking about, when he did his documentary on opiates and acupuncture and how it helps alleviate the pain. So the body runs in a different, what you call meridians, and most people know if they listen to some of my shows before or have catch me doing anything I've done in the seminars and lectures. So the body is a formulation of different nerves and signals and pathways. So as you take an opiate or any drug or any particular drug, it blocks the different synapses and the different chemical responses that the body has. What acupuncture does is unleash those blockages, because what opiates do and different beta blockers do, they block those sympathetic nerve waves. And when you release the body's healing properties of itself to create a better energy source within itself, it starts to heal thyself. So this is probably the touching things of what the acupuncture does. So thank you so much, Billy, for doing that documentary. What else did you find about? So, you mentioned you ran over that you were a Vietnam vet. And we know that throughout history that many vets are having difficulties in their time in this life. How did you find your way?
Well, it was difficult coming back from Vietnam. I mean, it was during that period, the late 60s, and the atmosphere here in America was kind of anti-Vietnam and anti-veteran. So it was kind of difficult. Like most veterans, I felt the need to divert myself of my service. So I took off my uniform and tried to forget. But as you are aware, the traumatic nature of war lends to a lifetime of dealing with that situation. I found that I use a lot of martial arts techniques, the meditation that's associated with the martial arts, which was part of my military training, which I continued. But it was the philosophical side and the mental process of being able to meditate, a strong belief in the Savior and God, and being able to deal with situations, and that's how I get through it. And like a lot of veterans, I was told that the drug would solve my problems, that I would be able to take medications and deal with the situation, but that was not for me, luckily. And I chose a more natural path for that, which was to deal with the martial arts for my body and my training, and the meditation for my mental stability.
One of the things that when we find ourselves in difficult times, we know that if we lose sight of our Savior and the alignment that we have with God, because through God all things are possible. It is not impossible. We're not here to suffer and to be in pain, but yet we tend to suffer and be in pain. And it's thankful that you kept your strength, your practice, your training, and that all kept you aligned with who you are and where you want to be. And that is why you are winning awards and you are living your best life. And I think that's amazing, Billy.
Well, thank you very much.
So your next project that you're doing, I know you're working on, you're always constantly writing. So what is some of the process that you can give young writers and directors and cinematography and all those people that's in film, what is the process you go through when you're developing a project?
Well, first of all, it's the concept, the idea that I try to develop the concept and the idea. As for me, my training as a motion picture tech has me seeing my story and developing it from there. Then I take my story and I try to go through the 3 different stages of my development to get my story set and develop my characters and my actions from those 3 different stages of my story, to take it from beginning to middle confrontation to the end of my story, and I develop it from there. And as you know, it takes a lot of rewriting and then rewriting and then rewriting again to develop the story, to get it to the point where it would be screen worthy.
So as I do my radio shows and my podcasts and Bridges Live and Weekly Wednesday and Dr. Paul Wednesday, one of the things I like to say is that I'm not here to tell a story. I'm here to get people to understand something so then they can put something into an action. Do you tell your story almost like so people can get an aha moment out of their lives, or it's just so they can connect to something?
Well, I'm usually trying to bring awareness to people. That's my point. I'm not so much into the traditional entertainment type of situation. I believe that we can affect a social change by the stories we bring, whether it be something that's real or something that is fictional, to something that will help people, something that will guide them, something that will give them inspiration. That is what I look for in the story and in my writing.
So as we're telling the story, and it's it's always in our testimony that we bring out the mud and bringing things to light, and so we can shine the light on God's grace. So one of the things when you're bringing a social change in this time, in this atmosphere, we read a lot. I'm sure you're reading a lot, Billy. I'm sure you're listening a lot. What are some of those social changes that you've noticed that just needs to be brought out there, that talked about?
Well, coming up in the era of civil, I guess you would call it civil unrest. I call it civil change, and a need to improve our social situation, especially for minorities. I see that there has been a great change in that. And that is one thing that I have tried to address in the script that I just completed, The Call Intolerance, which deals with the period of race relations during and right after the Civil War. And I found that through my research that a lot of the situations and attitudes are becoming prevalent, that we've lost a lot of the social change that was reflected through the 60s, through Dr. King and Malcolm, dealing with educational situations and the social situations. But a lot of that is people are trying to eradicate that, to take it back to a point in our society where the lack of understanding between races was nil and void. We need to avoid that.
We definitely need to avoid that. And I'm talking to on Bridges Live, and remember, you can catch me Bridges Live. You can always catch the podcast and the recordings, and it comes live on Mondays. Bridges Live, you can also catch on drpaulholisticscience.com. And Billy Ware is a director, writer, cinematographer, all in the film. Just recently won Best Cinematographer out in the Las Vegas Action on Film Festival, and is going to be winning more awards. Is out there. You have a film that's going to be posted in Australia that you're looking to hear back from, and you also be up in Michigan. Is that correct?
Yes, we're going to be in Erie, Pennsylvania for the Great Lakes Festival. Yes. It's usually not associated with the Great Lakes, Wisconsin, Michigan, but the film festival is being held in Erie, Pennsylvania. That's the 19th through the 28th of this month, and it's virtual. You can go on the IndieFlix website, and you can view the film for the low cost of $1.99, and you can vote for the audience choice, for the film of your choice.
So, and I hope people get that, and we'll make sure we post that onto the podcast page and stuff like that, Billy. But when we're talking about social change and what you said back from World War II, well, most people, I think young people or even older people, either have forgotten, don't care, or have never heard. So what do you think are some of the things that people never heard that they should be hearing? Because, like you said, it keeps coming back over and over again of these atrocities that's happening to the minorities and in our race relations.
Well, I think that we look at history, and a lot of it is history that is more or less given to us. And I believe we need to research the history of the positive things that have been done by minorities and blacks. My screenplay deals with it deals with Civil War, black soldiers during the Civil War, and the struggle after that, dealing with a positive situation that they make for themselves. I believe that we need to do things that are positive for ourselves, and that is what I try to put into my screenplay.
Most people don't know. Again, it's this information. Blacks don't have a nationality. We don't have a national country. So it was tough. It's tough and things that are written in the Constitution was for us to deny blacks of anything they could ever get. So it's very tough for them to fight for something that they can never have. Do you find that impossible?
Well, I believe that it's very evident that this is a fact. The stories that I'm dealing with deals with Reconstruction and the things that were afforded to blacks after Reconstruction, and then they were systematically taken away. So we ended up in a period of Jim Crow. Instead of a positive future for blacks, we ended up with things being reversed into a situation where slavery was reinstituted but undercover. And I believe that is the same type of thing that people have an intention to bring about in our society today, to bring about that situation of denying of civil rights, but doing it subversively.
Absolutely. And so you're at the University of Wisconsin, correct?
Yes.
And do you find that the kids care about this type of stuff? When they read your script, when people are reading your script, they're like, wow, this is so powerful, I'm sure. But do they find themselves like they didn't know none of this?
Well, that is true. There is very little that they are taught, especially the young kids there. The majority of kids that can afford to go to a film school are Caucasian and white and other kids who are financially able to deal with the high cost of film school. And most of them have not been taught the true history of blacks in this country and minorities. And they are seeing things that are being portrayed about people of color, Hispanics and blacks, and this is what they are getting. So they are very surprised to find out about the positive things dealing with people of color.
When we do things like this, we hope it touches people's lives. We hope it gives people information. We hope that it changes and makes people make a difference. We hope that when people say, God, I didn't know what Billy and Dr. Paul was talking about. Now research it. Now I look back into it. Now I can form an action. But we are finding that people are not forming an action. They're developing more apathy and laziness. Is that something? How is that something we can overcome?
Well, I think it comes from a lack of an ethic, either family or institutional ethic, of teaching our young people about being proactive for themselves and to do things such as research, to find out for themselves, to not just take what is given to them or said to them as the basics of truth or things that are right, and to get deep into what you are being told and taught and find out. You'll find that there's some reality that you are missing in there, because everything that we are told is the opinion of another. So we need to find out for ourselves, and that comes through having faith in God, having faith in yourself and your family, and really not depending on someone else to give you your concepts and your idea about right and wrong.
You know, when you say faith in God and people not just studying the word, you don't have to study the word, but to have a true faith and true belief inside your heart, to commit yourself to the all of the universe, the all of the galaxies, the all of everything, to say that this is where my alignment is. If you don't have that and you're not doing your research, would you consider this? And it's just a tough concept, I think, because I've told this to people, that if you don't consider yourself as important, it's almost like self-hatred. If you don't want to do your own awakening, your own research, your own studies to awaken your alignment, is that considered to be almost like self-hatred? Do you understand what I'm trying to talk about, Billy?
Well, I believe that you must treat yourself in your body. There is that saying that the body is a temple.
Right.
And the temple is where you worship your being. A lot of people have different concepts of God and who He is and what He is. But you need to follow that up with taking care of yourself, mentally and physically. You must love yourself. You must not do things to harm yourself. And that is one of the reasons why I became involved with the project dealing with trying to help people with the opiate addiction. You cannot deal mentally or spiritually, financially, socially with our society if you do not take care of yourself. If you are not in good health, not in good mental health, then you are fighting yourself, and it becomes almost suicidal for you to destroy yourself. That is against the laws of nature and against the laws of just about every concept of God that I've ever investigated and witnessed. You are not to harm yourself.
You know, so when being a Vietnam vet and me being in the military myself, we've seen life and death. And it has life and seeing death, has that given you, would you say, more of a highlight to life?
Well, you begin to understand the value of life when you see that. The term that we used in Vietnam for someone who had been killed, we said that they have been wasted. And to do that, to take a human life, to destroy it, is a waste. And that is something that we do not need. As it is stated here in a lot of our educational, to a mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Mm-hmm.
We need to, and a body is a terrible thing to waste. We need to nurture human society, not destroy it.
And I think you're nurturing it, Billy Ware. I think you're nurturing, and I hope shows like Bridges Live with Dr. Paul is nurturing it. And I hope, when people see you love your wife and love your family the way you do, we understand that that's a nurture. When we care for each other, when we have compassion for each other, and compassion needs to be taught. It needs to be learned. It's not something that just comes down and falls out of the air like rain. You have to have a practice. You definitely have to start training yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally. Like you said, if you don't practice the training, it is not going to happen. So you have to put things into an action for you to come out into being the prosperous of this world. And I think you're doing that with everything you are doing in the schools, with your films, with your writing, and your education.
Thank you very much.
So how can we get a hold of you? Give us that on air, and is with your films, and how can they catch some of the films?
Well, once we go through the film festival circuit, then we're looking at public avenues, maybe public broadcasting, to kind of get the word out, because we believe it should be in the general public. to be able to see this. But as you know, most film festivals, we are kind of restricted from doing any public broadcasting or anything of the production until once it has played in the film festivals. And we're doing a circuit. We have a couple of more festivals that we will be in. Once we do that, we believe we will have this moved to the public by the first of the year.
Is there a social media site they can follow you on and just catch up and maybe even help with money, because films take production and money? And so if people want to, be a sponsor of the movie, they could do that too and send you money. So how can they do that?
Well, we have a website. It's BEWEN LLC, and that's at gmail.com. And the information about the film and what we're doing and our very small veteran-owned LLC is on that site. And we can be contacted there. And we're on Facebook under BWEN. That's BEWEN LLC on Facebook. And you can contact us, and we can see about getting together and finding a way. If you'd like to help the film, it would be much appreciated, and we will find a way to do that.
Billy, it was a blessing for you being on Bridges Live. I'm looking forward to having you back on again and keeping up to date with some of those films that you said. Like it is, I believe in social change, but I believe also in social education, and people must be informed before they can change.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you having me on your show, Doctor.
You're welcome. So thank you, Billy, for being on the show. So you have my text. Send me the